You have JD Vance smiling during this, watching it. And Marco Rubio looks almost like he is slumping over inward and has this very grim expression on his face. Now, Marco Rubio has praised Trump since the meeting, so publicly he is supporting him. But the difference in body language is just very hard to ignore and could be emblematic. And I say could be because we know that Rubio at least is backing Trump, but could be emblematic of a larger divide here among Republicans.
An explosive row between President Trump and Zelensky has erupted in front of the world's media in the White House's Oval Office. The two leaders, let's remember this, were expected to sign a critical minerals deal. That's what all the build-up was about. But that looks to be in tatters following the provocations of Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. The future of peace negotiations look uncertain as Zelensky left the White House early and cancelled further meetings in Washington this evening. But let's think about how this happened. Let's take you back to the beginning of the row. It was President Zelensky saying the US would feel the impact of the war in Ukraine that triggered the heated exchanges.
Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influence.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about
From the
it.
very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I
You
was
don't have the
saying-
cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
playing cards.
Right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War
What do you-
III.
what do you
You're
think about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And
You-
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
I'm
That's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States
are
of
you
America
speaking about?
and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not
Yeah.
speaking loudly. Your country's
Can I-
in big
can I-
trouble.
can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn
We-
good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
this
said thank
stupid
you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about you
if
speaking?
you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
you invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin, in 3 days.
Well, let's calm things down. Let's welcome Julia Manchester, reporter at The Hill in Washington, D.C. Julia, front page of tomorrow morning's Times, picture of Zelensky and Trump, angry faces, gesticulating, and the headline, meltdown in Oval Office. We're all shocked on this side of the Atlantic. What is the mood there where you are?
We're pretty shocked as well. Look, we knew that there were tensions between these two world leaders, but yesterday it was interesting because President Trump, during his press conference or his Oval Office pool spray with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, he was asked about calling Zelensky a dictator, and President Trump called him a dictator last week in a Truth Social post. And Trump said, well, I didn't call him a dictator. I didn't say that. Next question. So it seemed like he was sort of moving off of this rhetoric. But today it is just incredibly remarkable to see this happen in the Oval Office, and remarkable to the point where you do, of course, have Republicans defending President Trump, defending Vice President Vance, but you also have a number of Republicans that are pushing back and criticizing them, including South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, a major Trump ally. Lindsey Graham essentially said he was embarrassed at the behavior he saw in the meeting, and said the deal, the rare earth minerals deal that we were were, waiting to essentially see signed today, was dead. And the fact that it wasn't just that meeting, it was Zelensky getting kicked out of the Oval Office, getting kicked out of the White House. Now, ironically, Zelensky is actually on the floor below me right now. Our offices are in the same building as Fox News's offices, so it's certainly busy around here, but we'll be watching to see what his response is. But it's been remarkable to see online Russian figures, including former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, essentially celebrating this.
Yeah, saying that President Zelensky got a proper slap down in the Oval Office. He's absolutely deliriously happy. But if President Zelensky is still in the building where you are right now, getting interviewed by Fox News, is there a chance that before he leaves, there might be some détente, some rapprochement? Because, after all, this is the art of the deal.
Donald Trump posted on Truth Social earlier today, and this was actually right before Zelensky left the White House. Trump said that when Zelensky is ready to make peace, he will welcome him back. He can come back whenever he wants. So Trump is sort of phrasing this as this is on Zelensky right now, not him. So I think the chances of us seeing some sort of a détente are low. But one thing that I thought was fascinating, and there's so many pictures and video coming out of that meeting. There's one picture of J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. Both of these men were colleagues in the Senate before they served in the Trump administration. You have J.D. Vance smiling during this, watching it, and Marco Rubio looks almost like he is slumping over inward and has this very grim expression on his face. Now, Marco Rubio has praised Trump since the meeting, so publicly he is supporting him, but the difference in body language is just very hard to ignore and could be emblematic. And I say could be because we know that Rubio at least is backing Trump, but could be emblematic of a larger divide here among Republicans.
Are you suggesting, Julia, we should put Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, on resignation watch?
No, not yet. Not yet. And that's, Marco Rubio has been publicly supportive. There's that image that we saw, but Marco Rubio has given no indication that he's going to speak out against the president. But it did look, and, a picture, can say 1,000 words, but or it could have just been the moment. Maybe Rubio was in deep thought, whatever. But it was just interesting to see the contrast in body language from these two men.
Julia, is the conclusion we must draw that if you want to deal with the person who is still purportedly the leader of the free world and you want to get a good hearing, you have to bend the knee. You have to be supplicant. You have to kiss the ring. Otherwise, what happened to Zelensky might happen to you.
Yes and no. I think, look, you saw Emmanuel Macron come into the White House earlier this week. And while Macron was certainly on a charm offensive, and he's a charmer in general, he knows how to work with Trump and sort of knows what buttons to push. Macron was pushing back against Trump. He was, he was willing to correct him sometimes and, stand his ground. And there were times when they were slapping each other's backs or grabbing each other by the arm. It almost looked, it was romantic in a way, but it almost looked like a bit of a aggressive power play between the two. They're fascinating to watch those two together. But I think the difference between an Emmanuel Macron and Keir Starmer is that they're in a more powerful position than Zelensky is. Zelensky is, this was make or break for him today. He's in a dire situation right now. On top of that, he also has a very, very awkward relationship historically with President Trump. The first time they spoke, it was after Zelensky was elected, back in 2019. And essentially that conversation in which President Trump suggested he should dig up any dirt on Hunter Biden, former President Biden's son, that led to his first impeachment here in the U.S., President Trump's first impeachment. So they already have a contentious relationship going back to that.
All right, Julia, after the perfect phone call. Julia Manchester, reporter at The Hill in Washington, thank you very much indeed.